Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Dana Villa from Chicago, Illinois. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Holy Father lamented the terrorist attacks against a Catholic church and a mosque in Burkina Faso. The Pope, upon expressing his grief, called for promoting peace and respect for worship places. The West African country saw the holy places being attacked on the same day, resulting in the deaths of more than a dozen people. In a telegram sent to Bishop Laurent Dabiré, the president of the Bishops' Conference of Burkina Faso and Niger, the Pope reiterated his belief that hatred is not the solution to conflicts. Pope Francis offered his prayers for the deceased and for the healing of the injured. The Pope's letter concluded with bestowing blessings upon the sons and daughters of Burkina Faso. President Joe Biden expressed his desire for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza to commence soon, as negotiations in Qatar indicated progress towards a resolution, despite public stances that remain significantly divergent, with Israel insisting on Hamas eradication before ending the conflict and linking the release of hostages to a ceasefire agreement. There are indications of potential developments. At the same time, the Israeli government has put forth a plan approved by the War Cabinet for the evacuation of Palestinian civilians from combat zones in Gaza, alongside allowing direct aid in the northern Gaza Strip. Presently, over 500,000 individuals are grappling with severe food insecurity. In his opening address at the United Nations Human Rights Council, Secretary General Antonio Guterres raised grave concerns about the deteriorating state of global security. He appealed for greater respect for human rights and peace around the world. Guterres pointed out a disturbing trend where conflicts across regions from Ukraine to Sudan, Myanmar, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Gaza are increasingly flouting established international laws, including the Geneva Conventions and the United Nations Charter. Guterres expressed dismay at the lack of unity within the UN Security Council, particularly evident in its handling of crises such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Israel's actions in Gaza. The Secretary General issued impassioned pleas for humanitarian ceasefires, specifically in Gaza, and demanded the immediate release of hostages. He emphasized that adherence to international humanitarian and human rights laws is non-negotiable, regardless of the actions of any party involved in the conflict. At a recent conference in Kenya, Cardinal Robert Sarah underlined the necessity of unity among Christians. Speaking at the 2024 Theological Symposium of Tangaza University College, Cardinal Sarah cautioned that division hinders the gospel's mission and exposes Christians to exploitation. He advised African Christians to prioritize their adherence to the gospel message above other characteristics such as tribe and nationality, and emphasize the need for unity in faith to strengthen the witness of Christ in the world. The prelate emphasized that corrupt politicians or foreign interests might take advantage of Christian differences. He further urged the believers to unite to avoid such exploitation and carry out Christ's purpose. More than 80,000 men from across the country participated in the 16th annual pilgrimage of the Rosary of Men that took place at Aparecida National Sanctuary in Aparecida, Brazil, from February 23rd through the 25th. Considered as the largest pilgrimage hosted by the Aparecida National Sanctuary, it went on with the theme Men's Chaplet, celebrating the Word of God in the Mother's House, and motto, Your Word is the light of my path, a reflection from Psalm 119. The central events of the three-day pilgrimage were the Holy Mass, a luminous procession, praying the Rosary, and the consecration to Our Lady. There were several testimonies of people who, through the intercession of Our Lady via the Rosary prayer, had their lives changed, received graces, started having faith, and going to church. Bishop Robert Barron rebuked journalist Heidi Prisbala for claiming that belief in God's rights leads to Christian nationalism and totalitarianism. Barron contended that the principle of rights from God, as embodied in the Declaration of Independence, is fundamental to American political thought. He cautioned that eliminating God as the source of rights creates the conditions for dictatorship. Bishop Barron highlighted the significance of establishing rights in a transcendent source to prevent the government from arbitrarily removing them. However, Prisbala did not reply directly to Barron's statement, but did retweet responses that supported her position. Following the recent Alabama Supreme Court ruling, which recognizes frozen embryos as unborn children, Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott stated his plans to address the IVF debate. Texas is dedicated to promoting life and allowing parents to have more children, Abbott said. As a result of the Alabama judgment, several hospitals have temporarily ceased in vitro fertilization. Additionally, Abbott mentioned former President Donald Trump's support for extending access to in vitro fertilization to increase the number of births and make motherhood more accessible. The governor also underlined the need to improve parents' access to in vitro fertilization. A group of Republican attorneys general is urgently calling on the Biden administration to take action in response to the alarming reports indicating that approximately 85,000 migrant children are missing, with fears that many have fallen victim to human trafficking. In a letter addressed to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, and FBI Director Christopher Wray, Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird, Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch, and Utah Attorney General Sean Breas expressed deep concern over the situation. The attorneys general underscored the unprecedented levels of the Biden administration's border crisis, decrying the inability of the Department of Human Health Services to locate over 85,000 migrant children who have entered the country in the past 2 years. Highlighting the urgent need for action, the attorneys general demanded a comprehensive plan for the relevant departments to identify and protect vulnerable children from human trafficking. Catholic bishops of Malawi publicly condemned the government in their Lenten pastoral letter on Sunday, February 25th. In the letter titled "The Sad Story of Malawi," the bishops criticized President Lazarus Chakwera-led government for poor governance. In the pastoral letter, the Episcopal Conference of the Malawi remarked about witnessing a serious lack of credible and visionary leadership in the country. The bishop said it was the root cause of all problems that Malawi is facing. The bishops also called for a robust legal framework to regulate the judiciary. They gave a brief picture of the country's current state while highlighting issues including fruitless engagement with President Chakwera, corruption, and nepotism. The bishops in their letter asked the leaders to stop being greedy and get serious about governing and vigorously tackling corruption. According to reports, a Catholic was imprisoned on false blasphemy charges in Pakistan, even though his co-accused confessed of carrying out the actions single-handedly. Zimran Asim, 34, was arrested by police from Sargodha district on August 27, 2023, on allegations of dishonoring the Quran and writing blasphemous content at 3 locations. As per Zimran, his 17-year-old Christian neighbor, Akash Masi, has confessed to police about getting involved in blasphemy incidents once before and once after the Jaranwal incident. Reportedly, the police even identified Akash from a CCTV footage and have solid proof against him. His brother Jassin Asim says that Zimran was labeled a foreign spy and his family was forced to leave the village due to vicious social media campaigns against them. Meanwhile, Zimran's lawyer emphasized the need for ensuring fair trials in blasphemy cases in Pakistan. Mexican bishops have expressed their concern for the Annunciation House located in El Paso, Texas, after a lawsuit was filed by Attorney General Ken Paxton aiming to reject its registration to operate. Paxton's office has accused Annunciation House, an organization that has been providing humanitarian aid in El Paso for more than 45 years, of engaging in possible efforts in facilitating illegal immigration. The Texas Attorney General's website shared a statement on February 20 of significant information from public records suggesting the involvement of the Annunciation House in legal violations, such as facilitating illegal entry into the U.S., harboring foreigners, human smuggling, and operating a stash house. Bishop Mark Seitz of El Paso said that the work carried out by Annunciation House was an example of the Catholic community's commitment, willingness to act, and love for the poor. In a threat to Christian missionary schools in India's northeastern Assam state, a Hindu radical group named Sanmilito Sanatan Samaj has initiated a poster campaign demanding the removal of icons of Jesus, Mary, crosses, and chapels from the school premises. Posters in Assamese language have reappeared in Christian-run schools in Guwahati, the state's business capital, as well as two other major cities, urging the schools not to mix education with religious practices. This campaign followed the deadline set by Kutumba Suraksha Parishad for the removal of Jesus Christ and Mary, Mother, idols from the schools, along with a request for priests and nuns not to wear their religious attires in schools. The poster campaign has created a significant threat to the educational environment of these schools, and principals have requested police protection to prevent any potential incidents. Christians make up 3.74% of Assam's 31 million people, above the national average of 2.3%. The Vatican's dicastery for promoting integral human development announced this year's theme for World Refugee Day. The day will be celebrated on September 29, will focus on the theme, God Walks with His People. The Pope's message centered around the itinerant dimension of the Church, with a special focus on migrants who are contemporary icons of the Church on the move. The Holy Father also suggested that it was a journey to be made together, synodally, overcoming every obstacle and threat to reach the true homeland. The World Day of Migrants and Refugees marks its 110th anniversary this year. Every year, on the last Sunday of September, is chosen to celebrate the day. The tradition, which was pioneered in 1914, is an occasion to remember and pray for those displaced by conflict, persecution, and economic difficulties. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.